What's going on, team? Killchain here, and we are back. The kids are officially off to school now, so holidays are over. Thank friggin' God, it was a nightmare. But the nightmare's over. What can I say? We've got 10 more weeks until the fucking Christmas holidays, all this shit. It's gonna be a long time, but at least we get to get back into the routine as for now. And we're actually gonna be checking out a tier list maker. I typically don't like doing these because it's kind of like, oh, filler content, whatever. But this one in particular kind of sheds a really nice light on the different personalities and different groups within World of Warcraft as a whole. And it kind of does shed a light on kind of what happened and why WoW failed, so to speak, as in losing subscribers, and it just isn't the beast that it once was. Because yeah, there are these differing groups within the community that prefer different things, and the systems tier list in particular really helps shed a light and opens up the door for discussion on exactly kind of what certain players prefer. Whether it's that long drawn out RPG element, more horizontal progression, a bit more of a quick pick up and play sort of aspect of, you know, your Mythic pluses and things like that. It's going to be interesting. So without further ado, we are going to swap over and yeah, we're going to check this out in real time. Love it. Now, first thing we'll do is let's be nice and shrink. Oh, I suppose you don't really need that. Yeah, this part doesn't matter because we're going to be able to see the tier list up here anyway, so it's fine, it's fine. Now, artifact weapons, Legion, cool. Really good. It kind of gave a bit of everyone's a hero vibe though. So in that regard, it was a little bit like, yeah, I don't know. But I loved the aesthetics of it. It was cool to do the quest chains. It was cool that each spec had their own version. The progression of them, everything like that. I would stick it as a very high A. Almost S tier in my opinion. But and still almost not quite there. Ashran, didn't really enjoy it, honestly. I think Ashran, yeah, kind of just K. Like, I'm indifferent with Ashran. So I'm actually going to put that bad boy in at a C. Yeah. PvP a little bit, but honestly, I can't say I never interacted with it, and it's definitely not trash tier. It's just kind of, I don't know, yeah, it's indifferent, that's for sure. Azurite armor, this bad boy, oh my fucking God, was a nightmare. It actually seemed cool at first, but when I say at first, I mean for like 5 minutes, as every new system is, where you're like, ooh, something's shining, let's check it out. But in reality, yeah, like just the insane amount of costs involved with having to chop and change it around. Some other people, Max in particular is the one that pops into my head at the moment, but yeah, there's discussion about how much we lost just to get that, and sure, that does, you know, make it feel a bit bad because it's around the context, not just the system itself, but the context of the system is that we lost tier sets, we lost like all this different shit that they're trying something new, and trust me, like Azurite armor will work out, and it didn't work out in any way, shape or form. I'm treating trash tier as like it actively made the game worse. Like this was a net negative across the board for World of Warcraft. And honestly, Azurite armor, I have to say, is yeah. Even when you look at BFA and it was like, oh yay, it's finally better and everything like that, it had nothing to do with Azurite armor. Azurite armor was still pretty shit, to be perfectly frank. But it was things like your corruptions and everything like that that was finally made a bit better, but with still massive rooms for improvement, which was annoying. But that's what sort of carried the, what was it? The 6.3, 9.3, 7.3, whatever 0.3 patch it was that made BFA tolerable. Yeah, that's the one. Now, badge vendors. All right, so badge vendors are obviously what we're thinking of the emblems and things like that. I actually think these are pretty solid. I wouldn't maybe put A or B. It's a bit hard. It'll be somewhere in there. We're going to put it in B for now. The reason why I actually like this is because it gives validity, to running heroics and shit again. It's actually kind of nice, and I've been enjoying, since playing Wrath, being able to just blast dungeons, and as you get better gear, the dungeons just become easier. It's fun and it's enjoyable. I can get off-spec shit now. Part and parcel of why, I will be honest, I miss a little bit of the way the old secondary stats used to exist, where you actually had block value and defense as a stat again, whereas now it's just the mismatch of the 4 stats. You can interchange it. It's much easier and more convenient when it comes to gear. But yeah, I kind of missed that element of kind of slowly gearing out a particular spec and everything. Badge vendors definitely helped with that. If you look at badge vendors in the context of retail WoW now, I don't think it has as much of a place, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you could really have it, but I do like what it was trying to do in terms of making dungeons relevant still, specifically heroics and things like that. I think it served its purpose there. That's essentially what Mystic Plus is now, but yeah, I don't know. Benthic Gear. Now, Benthic Gear is an interesting one. Again, I can't really say I interacted with it, but I did interact with it very little. I would put it as C. To be honest, there wasn't really too much flair to it. You just sort of skipped over it anyway, and it didn't really help for what content I did, so it's just neutral, like sure. Like almost like a who cares section, but yeah, it's a bit meh. Mission tables for me, again, this is gonna seem a bit weird, but very much a meh status for me, and it wasn't really mind-blowing. It was a cool extra, like, it felt like a chore to get the maximum benefit out of it in terms of every day, all your ults. Oh my god, look at this, I can spend 15 minutes a day, blast through all my ults, just do my quick missions in there. It's a good gold income, passive gold income, that kind of thing. But it just felt chore-y, and it was cool that I didn't have to do it, but it also didn't incentivize me enough to want to do it. But then you miss out on the benefits it could have because you just chose not to interact with it. So yes, I know plenty of people that had literally 16 ults already, smashing out mission tables every time, every week, every day, all that jazz. And yeah, they kind of like pushed into it, and yeah, they sort of definitely got the benefits of it, right? Because they've got good passive gold income, and we're able to maximize its efficiency for sure. Brawlers Guild. This, unfortunately, I have literally never interacted with. I don't know. If you guys down happen to know exactly what it was like, how good it is it something that I should sort of do now? Because I see it around, but I've just never done it. I don't know. I don't even really know what it is, to be honest. I know it's PvP related, but cool. Challenge modes. This was cool. I very much enjoyed challenge modes. My only interaction with it was WOD. So I can't say I did any challenge modes in MOP or anything. I didn't really play during MOP that much. Whereas challenge modes, yeah, the concept is really cool, and I just loved that it was this aesthetic thing. Even today, you guys will immediately know which one it is, but if someone transmogs the shit out of the polearm, the light blue glowy polearm, dude, memories, good prestige item. I think it did pretty well. Chromie time. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to throw this in as S tier. I know this seems a bit weird and it's a bit like throwaway because it doesn't actually impact the game that much. But just from a sheer leveling up perspective, new characters coming in, all that kind of thing, the option of having Chromie time was definitely a massive gain to the game. It would be disingenuous to throw it under the rug purely because we interacted with it so little. The benefit that it provides though, honestly, Chromie time is really smart. I'm very glad they did that. Conduits. Dude, okay. There's gonna be a lot of systems in here that, to be brutally honest, feel negligent. Like you're just throwing layer upon layer to try and get some arbitrary, like, oh, look at the customization options available. But it's just dumb and stupid, which is why a big part of looking forward to Dragonflight, specifically getting back to a bit more of the old school talent feel, and that is it. You know, like you interact with the talents however you wish. Yes, there's elements of, you know, cookie cutter stuff, but honestly, soul binds, conduits, what covenant you were entirely, all that stuff was just cookie cutter anyway. I'm actually going to put conduits as actual trash tier, no meme. It is better than Azerite armor, I will be honest. It's not as bad, but still, it was just this dumb extra thing that you had to talent out, and all it did was become cumbersome when you were trying to swap specs or swap layouts or whatever the case is. Like, why? It was a net negative to the game, 100%. It didn't provide anything cool. Corruptions. Now, this one's a bit of a hot topic one, I find, at least in my opinion. Corruptions are interesting because they were bad, but they were really fun. It was enjoyable to hit like 3-star fucking Twilight Devastation and the Infinite Stars, I think it was, or something stars. Yeah, it was just fucking cool. Like, you got it finally. The RNG aspects of it, even at its best iteration, it was really annoying to have a rotating roster of a vendor that you had to wait for your correct week to get the best in slot corruption that you wanted. That was really annoying. I didn't like that. I didn't like that it forced you to run a certain type of content that you may or may not have liked, specifically being the nightmares and all that stuff with Rathian. I didn't mind it, but dude, yeah, it was just, yeah. But it was really cool. So we were throwing it in at B because I think it's a little less than meh. It was definitely fun. It was enjoyable. It was different and it was game changing. That's the best part. It felt like, whoa, all right. And whether you liked it or didn't like it because it was so whoa, it was, yeah, it had to have some sort of impact. I think it's definitely above badge vendors for sure. It could even move into an A. With the one negative being that the acquisition, but the reason why we didn't is because it didn't exist in its entirety from 9.3 or 7.3, whenever it was. It wasn't like that the whole time, and even then it was still flawed. Originally when they first came out, it's purely just fucking luck of the draw on whatever drops you get, whether you got it or not. I was very lucky. Relatively early on, I got Getaku, I think it was called, this two-hand sword with a bleed effect on it with 3-star or triple Twilight Devastation, super early on from the chest back then. Yeah, I was very lucky, so I know I'm biased when it comes to it. Maybe corruptions should go down a tier or anything like that. I was just lucky that I got Getaku so early, so PvP was a lot of fun during BFA for me because I happened to be lucky. Covenants, now, again, silly choice. Cool concept, but implemented horribly, and so that's why it's a C. It's not like complete trash tier. It didn't draw away from the game, but it was really meh to the point where, honestly, C tier, it fits in because it could have not existed. It would have been fun. You do storylines on all the 4 covenants and go, cool, this was enjoyable, but it literally brought nothing extra to that. Mission tables, again, for me personally, kind of a bit meh. It might even be above Ashran, who knows. This one's a little bit topsy-turvy in terms of individual placings within that tier. So, we'll leave it for now. Customer support. Now, this one's interesting. Are we looking at the system itself right now, or the system back before, or whatever? This might be a bit of a spicy take, but we're throwing that in trash. I'm just purely looking at it as of right now. Dude, massive trash tier. It's clearly obvious, and it's nothing to do with the customer support issues either. They just don't have enough people. They clearly disincentivize the customer support aspect and push into the whole automation thing. The only saving grace that, you know what, I might even push it up to C tier or like high trash tier. Yeah, we're getting that nitpicky. The one saving grace of customer support is the item restoration is now pretty cool. The fact that that is automated and I can just immediately go in and look at every item I've deleted for God knows how long and be like, oh, I've done this multiple times. I've gone back and kind of gone, oh shit, I could have sworn that I had a particular item that I used to have, and I got rid of it because I didn't think I was going to do X, Y, or Z, but now I wish I had that back. Scroll through, search the item from like 3 weeks ago to something that you deleted. I don't know how far it goes back, but I know I've used this to great benefit. Cool, get it coded back to me. I pay the gold difference that I vended it for originally. Happy days, I've immediately got the item back. You can do it once a week, I believe. Same with the deleting or restoring of deleted characters. Really cool system. For that reason, I think, yeah, we're going to throw it in low C. Mostly Merp because they've completely gutted it, but there are some cool features from automation that have definitely helped to make it easier for certain things. Essence powers. Okay. Essences were really, I reckon they're high A. Maybe better than challenge modes, but not quite as good as artifact weapons. I think artifact weapons were a bit more oomph. I would almost say S tier, though, to be honest. What was the actual issue with essence powers? They had the passive effects, that was really cool. I found the progression of them okay. Like obviously they had, if you guys recall, they had different tier rankings and everything as well. Yeah, no, they were good. Some of them are a bit pain in the ass to max out to be epic quality, and you were running around with blues for a little while, but it didn't take that much effort. Honestly, I'd almost say like S tier. Essence powers were really fun. and there was a decent mix. Some of them were just never touched, but there were a decent mix of different ones used. And as a warrior, the lucid memories, lucid dreams, memory of lucid dreams, yeah, that was just a really fucking banging one. Even the PvP one, there was a something fire that I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was some fire brand thing. It became like a really cool execute move. Yeah, honestly, yeah, pretty good. I would say S tier, because they have nothing in correlation with corruptions. It just so happened that these two systems worked in at the same time. But I think, yeah, Essence Powers as a standalone, yeah, really cool, really cool. Garrisons, all right, this is gonna be a bit of a meme. I wonder how much you guys are gonna hate me for this. I don't know, we'll find out. I actually found Garrisons really fucking fun. It was like, there's definitely issues with it. I get the whole, you know, encourage people not to come around. I wish they could fix it in future things, but dude, Garrisons was like, I thought that was like step one of going towards player housing, and it frustrates the shit out of me because I truly believe that the negative press and the negative hype around Garrisons has completely gutted any hope of having player housing. I genuinely don't think they'll ever give us player housing, at least not for a very, very long time. And it's purely because instead of going, okay, we've heard your feedback on Garrisons, how about we tweak this? How about we do that? They've just completely, yeah, made it so they just don't even want to have a bar of it or anything anymore. I don't mind things like maybe your personal professions you can have in there, but you can't have other professions in terms of building. So you used to be able to go, cool, I'll have a blacksmithing building and a jewel crafting building, and then I'm going to be a leatherworker. I don't know, you can mix and match. That was the whole point. You might not be able to interact with them in terms of leveling and everything, but you could have whatever building you wanted, and you could have auction house that gave you little gardens and stuff. The whole garden and mining node and all that kind of thing, I think that was fine. Sure, it injected a little extra, but if people were trying to go out farming for it, they were just going out and farming for it anyway. Like, it didn't cause any issue. If anything, it just gave you a nice little small injection with less effort. You could just do it in your garrison and you're building it up, and it's kind of cool and fun. They could have tailored it better. Sure, there was definitely big improvements needed to be made, but overall, I actually fucking loved Garrisons, man. I think it's just that yearning for player housing that's making me in there. Now, glyphs, interesting. All right. Glyphs are an interesting one because they've had so many renditions, and it's hard to really judge each rendition of glyphs, because obviously once upon a time they were just extra stuff. The extra stuff honestly wasn't really too flavorful, but some of them were quite impactful. Like, even just something as simple as playing Wrath at the moment, it gives you a bit of an indication on it. Like, sweeping strikes not requiring any rage anymore. It doesn't change up your gameplay, but it definitely makes it easier. But in saying that, especially because some were just cosmetic, some were game changing or game influencing, they weren't impactful enough, and the rendition of them now, and have been for a while, being just like cosmetic-y things, dude, they're just meh, like completely pointless, whatever, dude. I think, yeah, glyphs could have just never existed. It's fun. Sure, that gives inscription less impact and what it's going to do, but I don't think you can just remove inscription entirely anymore. It's well and truly founded and has a set foundation for what it is. And glyphs have a market on the auction house, right? Like, there's always glyphs and stuff going off, and we'll see what happens in the future with them. But for me personally, a bit meh. They don't really add much to the game. It's not like they're this whole war. It's just people selling them basically to other people that also just want to have completionist mode, whoever, that kind of thing. Hard mode, now, interesting. Obviously the initial steps of what became challenge mode, I suppose. Yeah, there's still some hard mode encounter activations. And honestly, that hard mode mentality is probably what bled its way into dungeons for Mythic Plus as well. So the concept of hard mode though, yeah, I'll just put it as A or B. I think hard mode actually might even be better than challenge mode, because I think the original renditions of like your older war hard modes and things like that was really, really cool. Oh, actually though, so is Mop though. These are interchangeable, but either way, they're both pretty up there. And it definitely sort of, yeah, paved the way for challenge mode eventually, and then what we probably now know is Mythic Plus, purely because it was this alternative like switch that you could just go to, yeah, experience better content for sure. And obviously it originally ended in raids and then bled its way into some dungeons, which were the challenge modes and stuff. And like I said, it's probably why and how we have what's here now for sure. Horrific visions of N'Zoth. These were the nightmares that I was talking about. Now, this is what you had to do for your powers and corruptions and all sorts of craziness. As a whole, it wasn't bad. I'll put it as a low B. Like, it wasn't the worst. It's how you got your cloak thing. Yes, there was mandatory amounts of it you had to do. I didn't find it too invasive though. It was really cool because I got the worm, the mount finally from the mailboxes, farming that for a while, and then that was enjoyable to finally get the mail muncher, or whatever it was called. Overall as a system though, the game definitely wasn't worse off for having it. I don't think it was bad content as a means to an end when it came to your legendaries and everything. So I think that was fine. A lot of people didn't like it because it did feel mandatory, and I was probably in the camp of having an easier time in Visions because I was a Fury row, so we generally did pretty well in Visions, to be perfectly frank. Yeah, Island Expeditions. Because we're again taking these as an entire system, it's really difficult to kind of get your hand on it. I think it could have been better, but this was so fucking meh. It's very close to being trashed here, honestly. And I'm doing my best to separate the fact that you had to farm these to be efficient for Azerite power, but I'm less worried about that. And just even as a concept, I didn't really enjoy it, honestly. It's going to be either close to trash or C tier for me personally. We might even put it in as trash tier because yes, the PvP ones were fun and there was that element of different and it's kind of cool. That's like the one saving grace for it, but even then it runs out of flavor after a while. Cosmetics have not really been, I don't like collecting all cosmetics, but I do like collecting some cosmetics and they have to look cool. Like, I don't like going for broad speaking, must collect everything just for the sake of collecting everything. And so yeah, Island Expeditions, they had some cool mounts and stuff, which sure, participating in was fine, but you had to do it to be efficient for Azerite power, which was a little bit annoying, but even removing that, I don't think they were that fun, honestly. For me personally, eh. Item levels, I think they're just a mandatory, kind of have to have it as a part of everything. We're going to throw it in a kind of C level tier. The game's not worse off for having it, it's just more of a means to an end because item levels is sort of born and bred out of what the player base's behavior moved towards. Like, yeah. It's just a natural evolution of just how people play the game, I suppose. And, you know, there needed to be ways of measuring that kind of thing. Mission table, while we're quickly here, again, it's in the mer tier with BFA mission table, honestly. Legion Legendaries, I never interacted with them until they were fine. So this is going to be a bit of an annoyance. The other aspect of it, honestly, is that most of them are never used. You just had your one that you cared about. And then maybe your boots for like the movement speed. That was quite fun when you're doing like legacy content and stuff like that. But even then, yeah, you just got your one. It was easy enough with the waking essences or whatever the currency was that allowed you to get it. And I thankfully didn't have to experience the horrible RNG when it first launched. But honestly, I'd even put this as a pretty meh thing as well. Cool concept, but you just get the one you needed. And yeah, that was kind of it. Look at the dungeon. All right, so we've got LFD and LFR next to each other. This is going to be interesting. All right, here's my forethought before we jump into this too much. I was once upon a time, and I don't think it's because I'm just this nerdy old fat dad with 3 kids that, you know, doesn't get enough time to play the game anymore. I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I can play probably more than most other dads. So I'm very thankful for that. But in this position, I would probably go ahead and say I've had a change of heart over the period of time because I do value the quality of life they bring without like having more and more of an open discussion every time instead of just being like vitriolic kind of hating something for the sake of hating it. You start to realize that the impact it has was like negligible. It didn't change anything. It wouldn't have mattered one way or another. They're just there as a means to an end for a quality of life. And yeah, in LFR's case, just giving an opportunity to raid for those people that would never have touched raids anyway, because they just can't or won't. LFD, Wrath has really shined a light on how good this was for just like that quick pick up and play kind of thing. I don't think it was huge. Like in terms of Wrath, I really want it to be in there. Like I would value it quite high, but I also value that this is a little bit the beginning of that plug and play kind of quick, less long form RPG element, MMO element, and more of that I have half an hour to play, I need to get in, get out, I don't want to talk to people, blah, blah, blah. Like the reality is this does influence that. And then that naturally starts to bleed into people who don't care as much. There's no social stigma with just being a dick or leaving entirely because there's no words need to be said. And I think it would be disingenuous to at least not have that discussion. That LFD was the start of that. Don't talk to me, just fucking log in, queue up, do the dungeon, leave. And so it incentivized, well, this other dungeon I was able to do in 20 minutes. So this same group with this same dungeon, I should be able to do in 20 minutes. If this particular group took longer than that, you feel inconvenienced. It's the wrong way to feel, but you do feel that way. So bit of a shame, but I do see the value in the quality of life for it, for sure. I don't know how they can fix that dichotomy of having quality of life versus shitty outlook, because players in general just want more of a quick fix, so to speak. Like they want that hit of dopamine quicker. But we're going to leave it in as B for now for both of them, I think. I think LFR is no different than LFD. I don't think you can put LFR on this lower, or LFD on a higher pedestal than LFR and say, the dungeons was fine because no one wants to do dungeons, but raids, no, they're the holy grail content that needs to be held sacred above. No, I think that's a bit dumb. Mythic Plus case, super fucking dumb, dude. It was a very, or if not trash tier. Like it was cool that they gave you like something. It was like, hey, here's a thing just for, doing your stuff, have another chance at some loot, we get it. That was fun, like don't get me wrong, but it was so badly implemented. Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. But hey, it is what it is. I think they learnt their lessons from that and have made the current Great Vault really good, so that's always handy. Now, Mage Tower, holy McShitballs, the most S tier of the S tiers. Mage Tower can do no wrong. I think the concept is great. I wish they add more of it. I don't want to see just Mage Tower come back. I want to see new content made that is difficult, single player with awesome rewards. They did the rewards right. It wasn't like super power gated or anything like that. It wasn't like this grandiose, holy shit, you needed to like invest all this extra time or anything. It was none of that. It was just good quality made content that felt fun on every character I've tried it on, and it felt rewarding, it felt challenging, it felt depressing, it felt all the highs and lows you want out of difficult content, with this beautiful payoff of like a prestige item. You felt good for it. Honestly, I really hope they implement some sort of Mage Tower again in the future. I reckon it would be fucking awesome. Mop Farm. Now, Mop Farm's an interesting one. Didn't really interact with it. Cannot comment. SADGES. Same with the Mop Legendary Cloaks. Mythic Plus. Alright. Another one that, as much as I feel a little bit jaded by it because I think there's like better things that need to come, Mythic Plus overall, I think it's S tier. Like it's 110% revitalized 5 main content. I just hate how they feel the need to absolutely jam pack it in with just a bunch of unnecessary affixes. Like I think Mythic Plus could exist in a really fun, cool state just by having like one affix, like just the seasonal one. Get rid of your fortified and tyrannical, just have a seasonal affix and let people pump as much as they want to pump. Or even just have one affix that changes each week. Whatever, if you still feel the need to change it each week to mix it up to make sure the season just doesn't feel done and dusted in a week, because I get it, there'll be those that once they get the gear, they'll just go, cool, this week we're gonna blast 30 dungeons, we're gonna do every single dungeon at like plus 30, then I'm done, cool, see ya, Mythic Plus is done for the season. I get that, you don't want that to happen, you want to be able to mix and match it a bit. but there's just too many affixes in one go. It just makes it annoying to deal with. But the concept of Mythic Plus, honestly, absolute game changer. Really smart decision to add it. Yeah, definitely an S tier for me, for sure. Now, need over greed as a loot system. Hard to tell. I don't think it's as prevalent now because there is no mix and matching armor sets, whereas once upon a time there was a lot of melee at least that would chop and change for certain leather gear and things like that, and their BIS was leather gear with agi and like armor penetration and things like that. You had that as a problem once upon a time, whereas now you don't ever have that. There's no like healer only trinkets or anything like that, whereas MP5, right, like that was considered pretty healer intensive stuff. I don't know, it's hard to judge because I don't think it's really just different. You just see what it is and you can go, yeah, I want it, or no, I don't. I think it's better than personal loot because it gives more transparency, but I think personal loot is just nicer because it's like, did I get anything? No, I didn't. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know. I would put this as a bit of a meh. It's not really a necessity. It's not cool. It doesn't take away from the game though. It just gives more options. But for me personally, it's not the be all and end all, honestly. Netherlight Crucible, another meh for me, honestly. It's just no different than just sort of throws these weird kind of... It's customization for the sake of customization that doesn't actually mean anything. Like you just do the thing and then cool, you've got it. It didn't feel like that much meaningful choice, honestly. Yeah, all right, it is what it is. New talent system. I actually don't like the new talent system. As much as a lot of people was like, the old talent system was just like an illusion of choice and blah, 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 blah. Any new player is gonna feel way better about building out a certain way as they're leveling up, getting a point every single level, versus like I get it. We even see right now in Dragonflight, like I can hop on my warrior and there's pretty much all a cookie cutter standard talents of about 80% of the points that you're going to get every single time, and then you work within 20% of the points outside of that. So I get it. Cookie cutter shit's just gonna exist. There is an illusion of choice a little bit. But I just think the old point system is just a better system overall. The new ones with the whole choices per line, they had to segment them out massively longer. When it comes to leveling, it's not as enjoyable because you get one every however long. And yeah, it just didn't feel as rewarding. You couldn't play into what you were more. All right, what I mean by that is like, if you were a DPS, you were getting little bits of points here and there that just extend the DPS. There was more of a disparity between a healer, a DPS, and a tank. Whereas with the talent points, it's just like, all right, here's your thing. Only your stats really differentiate between the two. And then there's a lot of hidden behind the scenes things that will determine, like, look at threat now, right? Threat is nothing. There's like no convoluted complication to gearing at all. Threat, it's just which of the 4 secondary stats is the thing that I chase. Okay, cool, go. And the new talents is sort of on the same vein. They don't take away from the game. I mean, they kind of do a little bit. I don't know, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying they're completely trash here. They're just very meh. N'Zoth legendary cloaks. Kind of cool that it tied into the raid. I think that was kind of nice, but I don't know, they didn't really add anything. I think this is another example of a C. I hate to say it. I'm just trying to think. The acquisition was fine. Again, for me, the horrific visions were at the end of the world. They were cool. It was something to do. Yeah, the cloaks were, visually they looked okay. It was nice to, I'd put them above, like they're kind of relatively high-ish, sort of, but still a bit meh. I mean, they didn't really add to the game. It wasn't really that fancy. The only redeeming quality, really, apart from the fact that you needed them in raid, like if you didn't need them in raid because they chose to design it that way, then it's not like, you know, you would really care to have them in there. But visually, it was kind of cool to be able to see, you know, which other people had what stage of the legendary. So you're like, oh shit, yeah, nice, you got the big dick cloak. But the reality was, the moment the reset happened, or I think it was daily, you could go in and do them daily. And so if you did them every day, you knew everyone was going to get it on this particular day. All it did was turn into a, oh, you didn't get it this week, you're behind the 8 ball, sorry, like you lose now. So if anything, it just made the people that are behind feel shit, rather than made the people that are the best and furthest they could possibly be, made them feel like king dicks, and like everyone looked up to them. Oh man, your cloak's already so high, that's so cool. It was nothing to do with that. It was just, oh, you don't have the standard expected level of cloak because you're a bit behind, then you were shunned, and it was just horrible. So yeah, that was a bit of a SADGE. Old talent system, again, they weren't perfect by any means, but I do think they were better than the new ones. It felt good to level through it. Leveling back then was like a longer process. If you looked at the old talent system, but in today's era, yes, leveling has no bearing on it whatsoever. That's fine, I respect that. But I still think having the old talent system the way it was, with so many points to play with, you are getting a lot more modifiers and stuff that'll probably help in terms of damage and things like that. Like, I think it was just a better system when it comes to customization. Yes, cookie cutter, I completely respect and understand that. I don't know, I just prefer the old talent system. There's much more they can do with it than sitting there and going, oh, okay, we just need this one line is a bit annoying. So we're just basically balancing these 3 random talents. Half of them are passives anyway, whereas this is cool. You get like this progression. It's expandable a lot better than the other ones are, because you can't really just go a whole nother 3 choices every time, because that just feels lackluster as shit anyway. Because either you're coming up with 3 really cool abilities, in which case one of them's still going to pull out ahead, versus, yeah, it's just like synchronizations are a lot easier to micromanage in an old talent system, rather than the mock way of just having 3 choices each one. There's much more they can do, more potential for sure. But still nothing crazy to write home about, right? So, order halls. Okay, this is definitely an A for me. Not perfect by any means, but it was so fucking cool being able to go back and do class shit and just being like, yeah, we're warriors, we're in the fucking Odin's Hall, motherfucker. Like, it was just sick. It was really cool. Yeah, I think order halls are awesome. I think they could and should be brought back in some capacity, even if you want to use that sort of as like this fun little side gimmick. Like, I envision a world where you could have order halls as like server progression class shit. So like all your classes on your server with your faction. I mean, sure, they're getting with the whole faction thing, so maybe that's like a moot point. But yeah, it would have been cool, and it is cool that you can have like the order halls just progress based on your classes within that server. Cosmetic shit, just cool side content to do that is fun for your class. Whether it's something dumb like there's this big long epic quest chain for no other reason than giving you some cool new effect on one of your abilities, like the whole green fire for warlocks and things like that, right? That's cool. That's side content that's not necessary. You don't need to do it, but it's there if you want to. And there's a little bit of prestige involved, because holy fuck, you went through this like long, arduous, insane secondary content thing that didn't have any other meaning other than that cool thing that you've got, and you've got that cool thing, and I wish I fucking had it. Like, there's a big opportunity with order halls just in terms of tertiary content to do at max level. That's a bit more solo friendly, that kind of stuff has prestige to it still, because that's the big driving factor of MMOs, right, is prestige, to be perfectly frank. Pathfinder, dumb, trash, fucking hate it. The long and short of it of explaining Pathfinder is that we have flying. Either decide once and for all that you don't want flying in the game, or accept that it's being flying and just fuck it off entirely and let us fly the moment things become available. That's sort of where they're heading, the whole how quickly you get dragon riding and stuff. So I think this has sort of resolved itself. We're fine now. But Pathfinder in general, dude, just, yeah, no, it was dumb. You shouldn't gate it behind for no reason. And the 1 or 2 times I remember that flying was, I'm pretty sure it was when flying became available in all old world stuff, like Cataclysm or whatever it was. I don't think it was Cataclysm, but at some point they allowed flying to be in all the old zones, and I don't know if it was halfway through Cataclysm or whatever it was, but whenever that happened, everyone and their dog logged on. It was insane in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. Everyone just logged on. We're like, oh shit, we're flying in fucking Orgrimmar now, let's go. And people just flew around. It was cool and it was fun. And sure, it lasted literally like a day and then people were over it. But if that's the case, then dude, why do you need some arduous process of time gating flying in zones? Just make the zones like better tailored for flying. Like, this is just accept defeat at that point. Like, you've made a mistake by adding flying mounts in the game at all, so deal with it. That's my opinion. I think they could and should have gotten rid of the whole flying thing the entire way. I get it was this cool feature and they probably didn't think it would get to where it is now, but I do think, yeah, it's kind of just PvP cache, very meh. Personal loot, where do we put the need and greed? Yeah, I'd put it in the same C, like, sure, whatever. Personal loot and need for greed, need over greed, are very similar in terms of systems. Like, I don't think either of them is the problem or the point of discussion, right? PvP vendors, I think that's necessary. You're gonna have to have them. They're pretty solid. Like, I've never really had an issue with PvP vendors. PvP vendor upgrades, again, sort of the same thing. They're good, solid. They definitely don't draw away, and they're not meh, they're fun. Like, you need a vendor system to earning PvP gear, so I think they serve their purpose pretty well. Reforging, 100% on that hype train, dude. I want reforging back so bad. It was so good. And as part and parcel of that, though, I do see a little bit of a problem in some way, shape, or form. I feel like reforging isn't going to have as much impact with how secondary stats work as of right now, because with the 4 main stats, and that's it. You don't give a fuck outside of those 4 stats. You're basically just reforging what is worst stat to best stat. So you're literally going, I have a piece of gear. It's not my best in slot piece of gear, but I can go 40% of my worst stat that I have on it, I'm going to turn into the best stat that I have on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of, okay, it's just going to become another maintenance thing that you have to deal with. I'm well aware that it's kind of, that's the problem. But as part and parcel of missing reforging, 1, that is just tangibly better. So of course you should bring it back because that is just better. But 2, they should bring back some elements of secondary stats or tertiary stats, I suppose, that are more than just our 4 primary secondary stats. Okay, I just said primary secondary stats. 4 main secondary stats, right? Being versatility, what are they? Holy shit, I'm drawing a blank. Crit, haste, versatility, and mastery. I think mastery was a cool concept. Obviously, then it tailors based on the class. I think that's fine. It should stay, whatever. It's cool. But all your secondary things like, you know, block value and fucking hit rating. I actually, hot fucking take, and most people are gonna hate me for this, and I respect and understand that. But I actually kind of miss having hit caps and shit. It was just like a cool RPG element that, although it felt bad, like, that's the whole point of tailoring it into the gearing aspect, right? Because it sort of became this mandatory must hit first before get fun. Not saying that it wasn't fun. All right, that's the bad way of like putting it, but you had to hit the hit cap first. It was noticeable as you do get closer to the hit cap. Like, your damage was tangibly better, and it felt good and rewarding to not see fucking dodges anymore. And we always talk about the aspect of like, where do you draw the line between having some friction that is good friction that makes you enjoy the reward more versus friction that is just fucking infuriating. And I think things like hit cap weren't as bad as what people sort of seem to make them out to be. And then, you know, as you get the hit cap much easier because your gear's getting better, then it's fun to have like all this extra crit that you didn't have, or armor penetration and things like that. I actually just wish, yeah, tertiary stats would come back in some way with the armor pen and all that jazz. But reforging itself, yeah, definitely top good. Rune Forging, pretty meh, sure. It's just this unique thing that was always tailored into a DK. So I actually don't think Rune Forging can even be considered a system. I just consider it as DKs have always had it. It's just a thing, right? Like, it's just how it's worked. Scenarios, never really engaged with it. No clue what or service. I mean, I get it. There's been scenarios where it's got the image of signing up for shit, right? Like, yeah. Whereas, and I'm pretty sure MOP had scenarios that actually mattered more. But now I envision, because I never played MOP, scenarios to me are just like those, like, what's the best way to put it? Like Battle for Undercity from Wrathrat, or when you were doing the Jaina's quest line where you went to the Undercity and like a sort of attacked it, and then all the green plague got spread out. It was like this scenario that you did that was almost like a mini solo raid for no reason other than to progress story stuff, it's meh. Like, I suppose I have interacted with it. It doesn't take away from the game, but it really doesn't add anything. So scenarios to me are very much C meh tier. Shadowlands Legendary, trash, absolute trash. It was really cool in concept for about 30 minutes. Like, the crafting of it was like awesome, but then it was just long and arduous to upgrade it, and they never changed it at any point. 90% of the legendaries sucked ass. It was just dumb. It was a complete miss. I was looking forward to Shadowlands legendaries because of how cool, you know, legendaries in the previous existence had have been. The acquisition was fine. Like, I didn't really have an issue with the acquisition. That wasn't my problem. But it was just like, yeah, upgrading them and all that shit. You had to run Torghast. Torghast became like a nightmare. And I even had like an easy time in Torghast because Fury Warriors like just destroyed shit. So it was good. Mission table, exact same concept. All three of the mission tables, basically, whatever design you want it for, it's just who cares. Like, yeah. Shattered Domination, absolute trash tier. Didn't literally actively like drew away from the game. It just was not fun. That's why they lasted a patch and then fucked them off, which they should have done. So that was good. Tertiary stats. Now this is all your leech and avoidance and stuff. This is really weird. Also, they spelled Torghast wrong. That's actually hilarious. Thorghast, more like it. Yeah, love it. Tertiary stats are weird because right now they only account for leech and avoidance and things like that, right? Whereas I view them as what I wish they were, which was armor pen and like hit caps and stuff like that again. But seeing as what they are right now, which is literally leech and avoidance, I think they're so meh. Like, who cares? But I need to emphasize that I do want armor pen and hit chances and all that stuff back. Great Bowl, absolutely S tier. I don't care what anyone says. My opinion is the Great Bowl was 110% a necessary and fucking awesome addition to the game. The fact that it spreads across the whole range of content now, no matter what you do. It would be kind of cool to see a fourth section come in for solo players, I suppose. I don't know if that's going to ruin the economy even more, whether they have it profession based or open world based in some way, shape or form. But I think there's an avenue for that, like at least a discussion could be had. But I think Great Bowl is 100% S tier. Like, it was just far better of a system than the shitty BFA cache that we used to have. Yeah, definitely well worth. Torghast. Now, I'm gonna put this as C, and the only reason it's not trash tier is because yes, there were elements of it sort of being fun, where it was like cool to, you know, experience it. But that was immediately tapered off when you realized, because of how it functioned and the limitations they ended up putting on it towards the end, even doing your long form ones, which was the 18 levels instead, yeah, cool, you could get some crazy powers, but it just felt fucking long and boring. Like, there was nothing to it. Torghast was definitely mostly miss, but I wouldn't say it actively drew away from the game. I think it was sort of fun-ish, but it did actively draw away from the game when it was like mandatory and just lame, and yeah, you had to do it. Threads of Fate, another kind of meh. I only tried it twice, and honestly, I found questing linearly. In fact, I would say it drew away from the game. This might be a hot take, but I actually don't find Threads of Fate that great because I only have Shadowlands to go off, right? And for me personally, I actually found it worse just getting to go around and do world quests or do whatever as a form of leveling, and than just doing the storyline. It was way better to just do the storyline from my personal experiences. Tier sets. I mean, they're nothing to write home about. I'm gonna put them as like high B. They're such a staple that it's like difficult to really say that, because you can't help but go tier sets. Oh, well, I remember this one tier set that was fucking sick, so therefore it's an S tier. Well, no, the whole point is you need to look at it as a system, not fall into the trap of thinking, oh, but tier sets are amazing because of this one tier set that I had. So as a system, it's just another augmentation that changes each time, right? And that the benefit of it is that it helps change the playstyle. So you're not playing the same warrior or the same rogue or, you know, warlock or something each and every tier. It at least helps mix it up a little bit. And for that reason, yeah, it's a solid position. Like, it doesn't lose value or anything like that. I think that's fine. But also, it's nothing absolutely game changing. Time walking, I think this is another B, I would say. I think time walking adds a lot of value for sure. It's nice to be able to go back. I think the scaling on it is a bit scuffed, but as a system, it's like really solid. Again, not the greatest thing known to mankind. Certainly didn't add value as much as chromie time, in my opinion. Because I think way more people get a massive benefit out of chromie time than people get out of time walking. Because everyone has hit chromie time and had benefit out of it at some point in their game, but some people just don't ever touch time walking. In fact, I'd imagine most people don't. Maybe that's wrong of me, I don't know. Titan Forging, oof, okay. Titan Forging. The chance that random shit can just go absolutely big dick mode. Yeah, nah, I think that was trash. Oh, nah, it was trash. It was definitely trash. It has to be trash. Like, it was cool, and all the cool memories I'm having are purely when I got the cool thing and like RNG lucked out. But as a system, that RNG shouldn't exist to that extreme. So I think, yeah, Titan Forging shouldn't really be on there. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a bit hard. Pet battles are never interacted with / trashed here. I'm not gonna put it in trash. I just saw pet battles in and immediately like had a fuck pet battle. I hate pet battles, dude. They're so dumb. I don't know why they were added, but I get it. Other people play it. So instead of picking trashed here, I'm gonna say never interacted with, because I have never interacted with it. They didn't take away from the game. Like, no one's not raiding to do pet battles instead. Like, it's just an addition that you can do and it's fun and it's cool. But I've never interacted with it and I hate it. But that's fun. Transmog. Ooh, okay. I think Transmog definitely has to be an A tier. It's not super S tier, like the greatest, like, holy shit, everyone and their dog is doing Transmog runs, because that's tangibly not true. Some people don't care about it. And the biggest problem is to why this isn't like as grandiose is because I experienced this exact same fucking problem in Guild Wars 2. So Guild Wars 2 has no vertical progression whatsoever. Once you hit your best in slot gear, you're basically done for the game forever. And then all it is doing content, whether it's new stuff that comes out or whatever, to collect essentially what is Transmog, their outfits and, you know, different cosmetics and stuff. But the problem is 90% of them don't appeal to you because they can't, because they have to appeal to everyone as best they can. So sometimes you get a set that looks cool for you, then a different theme will get set out and those people like that theme, and you know what I mean? It goes around to tailor it to different groups each time. So 80 to 90% of the transmog that came in that game, in Guild Wars 2, you kind of just went, why would I want to collect this? So unless if you're very particular about collecting 100% of the everything, because you just want to be 100% Andy, then no one gave a shit. And we're sort of in the same position with transmog, right? There's shit that you can't get in the game anymore, and it kind of makes you feel a bit like, I don't know. But as a concept and as a means of horizontal progression, which I think the game does need more of, transmog is definitely a big leg up. I am in the boat where I do see value in having like shitty gear, and then you see someone in the tier set from the raid and you're like, fuck me man, he looks so cool, rah, rah, rah. And that's lost with transmog, right? Because everyone just transmogs that cool set they had from 10 years ago. But I do think the positives outweigh the negatives vastly in transmog's favor for sure. Warfronts, trash tier. Do we even need to say about it? We did it once. It was fucking dumb. It was stupid. It was just like a badly done battleground that wasn't fun. Warlord Drainer with legendary rings. Okay, like yeah. World mission table, exact same thing. We're just a lot of meh everywhere. World quests. I do think they were valuable. I do think that they're better than daily quests. I would say dailies are the meh, world quests are better than dailies, I think. The only reason I think world quests might be a little bit more grandiose, I suppose, is because they felt like the next evolution of daily quests. Oh, but you were doing the same shit every day. Whereas that's just weird. I don't know. It's hard. They might even be on par. They're pretty meh. They're not great. Like, let's just put it that way. Whichever one is slightly better than the other one, they actually might be in the same tier, honestly. Because daily quests and world quests definitely added a lot of value in terms of replayability. But in today's day and age, they're just nothing but cumbersome. Whereas going back in Wrath, I kind of feel more like the whole reputation grind and everything like that had value, so you kind of wanted to do it. Whereas in this game, to be honest, the reputation grind and the reputation value it brings, as of right now, Dragonflight Dragonflight might change that, but as of right now, that was just totally nothing. Like, you didn't really get anything from it. There was always gear that outweighed it. They made it so you don't feel necessary or required to grind the reps. And so as such, with that, it just devalued the shit out of doing daily quests and stuff for it anyway. And it gets super old pretty quick. Like, even Zereth Mortis dailies were like, okay, but in the path to get, by the time I got Exalted, I was like, oh fuck, I'm done. And I think that's true in all versions of WoW. Doing daily quests to hit a certain reputation cap. Once you hit the cap, you kind of just don't want it. So that's why I think world quests are a bit better, because there's at least replayability a bit beyond, and maybe it's like easier to, like, quality of life wise, world quests are better than daily quests because you don't have to fly back and things like that. So they're both still pretty, I don't know, a bit hard to judge. Flexible rating, interesting. I think that's pretty solid. I'd say it's a B, probably better than that. I think it was a smart decision to add it in there. You shouldn't have to be punished just because, you know, there's one less healer or one more DPS or whatever the case may be. You can work and wiggle within that. I think that was really smart. It might even be an A tier, honestly. I think the dish, while it affects me positively, it affects the game even more positively. I think that's why I want to put it A, because broad strokes across the entire game, not just from my personal experience having had a benefit from it. Yeah, like I've been brought in and was like, oh, I want to come raid as well. Oh, we've already got 10 or we've already got whatever. Cool, we'll just bring you in anyway. The healers can just heal an extra person and it's fine. You know, you don't feel missed out or left out. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Paragon reps, really cool addition. I like that it gives you something to do beyond Exalted. Nothing crazy to write home about, but I definitely think they add value to the game for sure. Professions, as they currently stand, I would say C tier. So I'm not assuming Dragonflight. I think that would be disingenuous to assume Dragonflight right now. So as of right now, I think professions are pretty meh. They're high meh, but still meh. The weapon skills were dumb. Like, I enjoy it and it was cool to hit 400 finally, but experiencing Wrath again has really just shone a light on how completely dumb they were, and they 110% took away from the game and made it like it is an RPG element that we could do without, whereas I think some RPG elements should 100% come back in for sure. Valor and Justice Point Vendor. I view this as the exact same as the emblems. So where did I put the emblems? They were identical, like they just didn't really have that much different. They just had different names. I'm pretty sure I put it in here, right? Oh no, I actually put it up, badge vendors in the B tier. Ooh, interesting. This was more catch-up gear, whereas this was like as a true method of gearing, like as pre-bis and shit. The only thing that felt a bit disheartening about that is badge vendors eventually turned into catch-up, whereas this, there was no real initial injection of like, hey, these are the things you want to do. There's like a method to the madness of getting there. So I think I'll put it as C tier or low B. There's value there, and I do think vendors have a purpose for having a currency or something like that. Creation Catalyst, 110% S tier. Don't care what you say, but you're dumb. Or maybe A tier. Maybe I'm putting too much S tier shit. Nah, 100%. It's pure value. Like 100%, everyone should get tier. You shouldn't create a tier thing and then like gate certain people off because they don't do XYZ content. It's a good catch-up mechanic. It is a good fail-safe if you don't get drops that you wanted. It allows Mythic Plus players to get tier set as well. Like, it's 110% a fantastic feature that should always exist in WoW from now on. The only negative that you could say is that it pulls back from replayability because you're more likely to get tier by X amount of time. And now you've already seen the effects of it. Like Max, for example, was saying, you know, it's shitty that Creation Catalyst isn't going to be available from whatever time it is. And the reality is now people have an expectation. They have an expectation that they want Creation Catalyst to be able to get them tier set by exactly this date. And that's a bit of a shame because I feel like that probably defeats the purpose a little bit of it. It shouldn't be the method of getting your tier. It should just help catch up or alleviate bad RNG. Aside from the first ones, the most I've ever murdered, who cares? Literal who cares. 25 man rating versus 40 man rating was trash here. It was just too much. It was epic in scope, but the negatives vastly outweighed it, and it was just dumb. I just don't think it's very smart to have 40-man rating. The only thing that might push it to a C is just the grandiose spectacle of it was kind of cool. 25-man rating, I view 25-man rating and 20-man rating is almost the same, to be perfectly honest. So the Mythic rating, we're just viewing both of them as B. I'm pretty happy with that. Dragonflight talent trees, I think, are a definite step back in the right direction. For me personally, an A. I think it goes back and harkens back a bit more to the old school talent field, which I think I put in C or maybe B. Was it B? PvP? No, I can't remember where I put it now. Oh, talent, yeah, I thought it was B. Cool. I definitely think it has value there, but the reality is, if we're looking at it purely from a system perspective, there's loadouts now. You can import shit, you can share shit. It's just tangibly better, even if in terms of the actual talents themselves, they're identical. And the fact that you have a class and a spec tree now, rather than just a 3 specs and you just mix and match or whatever, I think that's a better system as well. So I would definitely say Dragonflight talent trees, including the fact that that system also has the ability to import and share specs and have 10 loadouts saved and that kind of thing, much better. Like dual spec for the old talent system was cool and all, but even in Wrath, I'm already hitting the position where I'm like, well, I wish I had a 3rd spec so I could have a tank, a melee DPS, and then a PvP spec. Whereas you only have 2, so I'm always changing at least something out whenever I need to. Dragon riding, we don't have enough experience with it. From beta, I would say low B. I don't think it's super mind-blowingly changing, but I also haven't had a chance to really deep dive into the races and everything like that. I think the races alone is already going to push it up to maybe A. Whereas as of right now, it's definitely not meh. It feels really good and fun, but it's also not like the whole... I'm not going to be dragon riding for the sake of dragon riding, you know what I mean? It's not content. It's not a feature beyond normal flying, but the ability to go fast is a lot better. And I think once I start doing the races and whatnot, I think it will move up to an A, but as of right now, I can only speak to what I can speak to. And yeah, that's what I'd say. Heirlooms, I don't really engage with the system that much because actually, no, I'm going to stand up for this. I'm going to say my piece. Heirlooms used to be good. But right now, with the change that they've added now, fucking trash, dude. 100% they need to revert heirlooms to what they used to be. I don't care if it's bullshit experience and you're getting like something dumb like 80% increased experience or some shit. Do it. If we've got all the heirlooms that allows us to do that because we've sunk that much effort and gold into boosting them all up, then let us level our ults ridiculously fast. There's no reason not to. I 100% think heirlooms are trash now since they made the change. I don't know how long ago it was. It might have been with Shadowlands, but they've made it now where, yeah, you just get hard cuffed by it basically. Arena, S tier. Like, I don't engage in Arena that much and I look forward to playing Arena more. But in terms of what PvP is and what it implements and everything, Arena 110% has to tangibly be an S tier feature because it is just the pinnacle of PvP. Even though the PvP population is small compared to, you know, everything else, I think, yeah, most battlegrounds are good. I'm going to put it as an A purely because there are some that aren't great and I wish they added more battlegrounds. There's more they could do. They don't necessarily need to have battlegrounds be these big numbers. I think epic battlegrounds are worse than normal size battlegrounds. Like 10 man is a really comfortable sweet spot. Whereas 40-man epic BGs are just dumb and weird. I don't really like it that much. But Arena's definitely S tier for sure. AP, so artifact power. Okay. Okay, bro. Alright. Artifact power, I have a little bit of like love for it because I was ahead. And I had pride in staying ahead of the rest of my guild. So, because I went ham on that shit. I made sure every single fucking world quest was done and squeezed out every artifact power that I could when BFA launched. And I was ahead of the guild and I did better for it. And I have sort of fond memories of it, but I hate arbitrary, like elongated grinds like it. So I want to put it in C because I have this tiny sliver of it was kind of cool, but 100% it was trash tier. Like, arbitrary grinds like that are annoying because they reset every expansion, and it's just not a fun thing to engage in, honestly. Max's new haircut. There's a reason you keep looking like a cardboard cutout, mate. It's not just your blank stare of cardboardiness. It's not just your completely generic style of clothing choices. It's your haircut as well, son. Sorry, but pick up your game, bro. With the training, never engaged in it. Who cares? It was dumb. Like, I hated it. I would put it in trash tier if I could, but yeah. Master Looter. Now, huge controversy. Massive controversy. As a system, it's either S or A for me personally. I'm gonna put it in A because it's not S tier in terms of like, oh my god, the greatest thing ever. But 110%, it is way better to have it than not have it. It should be an option for everyone available. I don't understand why Master Loot is not allowed to exist. It is dumb. It should be a choice. Every guild has the right to make, like my guild, my choice. Yeah, it's just Master Loot is definitely should be up there in some capacity. 10-man rating. I actually think this is kind of cool, but it also exists because of flex rating now anyway. I don't know how they could do it, but I would really love 10-man rating. That's how could they do it? I don't know. I think Mythic rating at 20 people is kind of the best solution they're gonna have. But basically what I'm like pipe dreaming over is a world where you could have a 10-man raid that gets the same gear quality as Mythic. So splitting, that's essentially me saying I want to split Mythic rating back into the 10 to 25 man pillars like we used to have with Nax, like currently in Wrath right now, but then making them equal in terms of item level, in which case wouldn't anyone and everyone just do 10 man because it's easier to fund 10 people than 25. And then Race to World First will get weird. Yeah, I don't think that's doable. But in terms of what 10-man rating could be, we already have that. So I'll just put it as meh. It's meh purely because flex raids are so good, which I'm pretty sure I put in here somewhere. Or maybe 80. Yeah, flex rating. Flex rating is 100% better. And because of flex rating, it completely nullifies 25 men and 10 men. Because you can just do anything up to 30, right? So it's fun. Achievements, 100% S tier. Like, achievements really do a lot. I don't engage in this system that much, but I also do sort of go, achievements are cool. I should do more of that for sure. And that's something I do want to do. I envy those that have the patience and willingness and drive to make a main character and just fucking bomb every achievement. And I think achievements were 100% a absolute S tier addition to the game for sure. Cross faction, same deal. S tier. I don't think anyone can argue that cross-faction was inevitable, and 100% the game has only gotten better since adding it. I don't think there's like some value in, ooh, the hatred of one side versus the other is really adding to my experience in World of Warcraft. Like, no, it's only better that you have the choice now because War Mode exists, right? So where's War Mode on here? How the fuck was War Mode not added as a feature? That should have been on this list for sure. I'd probably put War Mode in as like A or B, purely because again, it's just a choice that we didn't have before. It's better to have a choice than not to have the choice, right? So tangibly, yeah, why not? And I think it's done well because people were like, oh, we wanted PvP realms are so much better, world PvP is awesome. And then they were given the choice, and I hate to say it, but I think 80% of people run with War Mode off. So it goes to show you that majority of the players don't want to fucking deal with world PvP. And I think it's an example like that where you really get a sense of what people actually want rather than what they think they want. But world PvP, I'd add in War Mode specifically, I'd add in A or B because it's just a choice that we didn't have before and it's tangibly better. It means the people that don't want to deal with world PvP can just flick it on and off whenever they want. People that do want to deal with it and just feel, oh, I've got good PvP gear now, fuck it, I'll get a bit of extra rewards for my dailies or world quests and stuff. And then if I get ganked by Horde, cool, let's bring it on. I've got PvP gear to help blast it. So I think that was good. Cross factions only S tier. There we have it. All right. Most of this stuff is all mop shit from what I could see. Yes, that's Legion, but I just didn't really care for it that much. I think everything is where I'd expect to sit it. I'm pretty happy with the tier list overall. yeah, there you go. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you would change around, or if there's any particular features like the whole war mode thing that you can think of that's not on the tier list and you have your opinions on it. If I'm trash with my takes, then let me know. Otherwise, if you agree with some stuff, also let me know. Subscribe, like, all that jazz. It was a long video. Hope you listened to me dribble shit and my casual dad takes on the World of Warcrafts. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.